inshallah.
So, like, the opinion that I heard was, if a Christian is if he were to say Allah, even if he says, even if he believes Jesus is God, and he says Jesus, as long as he's saying like that's God, then that's okay. If he says nothing, or he doesn't.
If he says the name of God, it's accepted. If he says the name of Jesus, it's not accepted.
But let's say if he says nothing, then he's
Nothing.
not saying anything.
Yeah, then it's accepted.
It's still accepted.
Still accepted. You mentioned the name of Allah.
So, okay.
Because the reason we're saying that, this is what the Sahaba used to do. So they would have Ahlul Kitab provide them with food. They don't ask them which name you mentioned. They don't ask them, did you mention the name of Allah? Then they just... Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. The brother has a question about eating meat that's slaughtered by non-Muslims. What is it? There are two ways of looking at it. We know in Surah Al-Ma'idah, وَطَعَامُ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ حِلٌّ لَكُمْ وَطَعَامُكُمْ حِلٌّ لَهُمْ. The food means what's slaughtered. It's not talking about bread and apples and oranges. Meat. What is slaughtered, the people of the book, the Christian and Jews, is permitted to you. Your food is permitted to them. So this is the general rule. There is another ayah that tells you, وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا مِمَّا لَمْ يُذْكَرِ اسْمُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ. Don't eat from something the name of Allah is not mentioned on it. So, some people take only the second part, say it has to be a Muslim who slaughter it and say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. I see a lot of people, especially from the Indian subcontinent, they're following the Abandi school where they say it has to be a Muslim saying Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and then you eat it. If somebody does that, this is perfectly fine, and they get ajr for trying to do the perfection. But it's the majority of Jumhur ulama Muslims say you do, as long as it's a Christian or Jew, or the majority of the place are Christian and Jew, then you're allowed to eat it as long as it's slaughtered. The law of this land, the animal should die by bloodletting, so it is slaughtered. But it has to be unconscious. So they take an extra step, either they shock it or they shoot it in the brain and in the spine to paralyze the animal. But if they have to slaughter it, cut it, and blood leave the body and dying from bloodletting, slaughter. And if the animal dies, the heart stops before the blood is let. By law, it's not allowed to be for human consumption. They go to slaughterhouses, they mention, I've checked it like 10, 15 years ago. This is the law of the land, how it should be done.
For chicken and beef?
Chicken and beef and everything. The chicken, somebody described to me, they hang the chicken from the legs, they have it there. Before it reaches the knife, a shock is delivered, the chicken is unconscious, the neck is cut. For a larger animal, they have like a pneumatic gun, they shoot it at the spine, they paralyze the animal, then they cut the neck, bloodlet, they die. But if it happened, the animal dies, the heart stops. Before they let it go, blood's not flowing, it doesn't go to human consumption. This is the law of the land. And since the majority are Christian and Jews, majority of ulama that we asked, they said, you eat from it. Now, if you see him mentioning other than the name of Allah, say the name of Jesus, Mary, Saint, whatever it is, you don't eat it. Majority of people don't mention any name. Most of them are working in slaughterhouses, they just want to get over their shift and go home. They don't mention anything. You mention the name of Allah, say Bismillah, and you eat it. But if somebody wants to take the extra step, only eat halal meat, he will be rewarded for it because he's trying to be extra cautious. But when you go to a Muslim house, you don't ask him what kind of meat you're providing. You shouldn't be doing that. Whatever. If you yourself only eat meat that's slaughtered by a Muslim, you go to a brother providing with meat, you don't ask him, is this from Kroger or this is from a Muslim place, halal food? You don't ask him that. This is what the ulama have taught us.
What if he disclosed it himself? Like he was like, hey, I brought this meat from like the Indian place, and like I know for a fact that this Indian place, like they're not Christians or they're not Jews?
Yeah, if they're not Christian and Jews, then you don't and tell him no.
Okay.
But most Indian and Chinese places, they don't slaughter their own animals.
Yeah.
So you go to a Chinese restaurant, they buy it from Kroger and Meyer and all that stuff. But if you know for fact they slaughter their own animals, you shouldn't eat it. It's not permitted. I know Amish people, they don't slaughter the animals. Once I had a nurse, she was a Mennonite, that's Amish light. She tells me they step on the neck of the chicken, break it, and they go, well, let's not slaughter, I will not eat. But I mean, how many of us go to Amish farms and eat from their meat? So.
Yeah, so the rule does not apply though if you go to countries like China and places where it's
Yeah, the
atheist.
majority are non-Muslims. No, you have to make sure it's a Muslim or a Christian or Jew has slaughtered it. And you'll find it, like you go to India, you'll find places, this is halal meat. They mention this halal. And I think in China, they have some places they say it's halal. I've never been to China, but I assume so.
You said you have experience like looking into the factories in
Yeah.
America. So the people who say, okay, well, America isn't really Christian anymore, they're just secular.
Yeah, but the majority of people are categorized under Christian and Jews.
So does that not affect the ruling since...
No, since the majority still are considered under the big umbrella being Christian Jew, whether they practice or not practicing, this is not part of us. It's like for us, most slaughterers, people or butchers in our country, a lot of them are not practicing Muslims. So, I mean, some of them, if you hear what they say, you probably wouldn't eat their meat. They'll be cussing his God and his religion and his Lord, just he punched him or stepped on his foot and so on. So it's like, I probably wouldn't eat your meat if I hear it. So you have to take with the general, you don't have to go. If you see a specific case, then you apply this period. But the general rule, and this is what the ulama have told us. You live in a country that's considered majority Christian or Jew, this is what you follow.
Sheikh, so, going back to the like sects in Islam and stuff, so when people ask that, are you Sunni or Shia? So do you say like, I'm just a Muslim, or do you explain to them like, hey, I'm a Sunni, like, because I don't want to add and say like, I'm a Sunni and kind of sort of deviation.
So it depends who's asking and why they're asking. If you have a non-Muslim asking and trying kind of just to differentiate and create fitna, say we're Muslims, we believe the revelation came from the Quran, we follow the message of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we're Muslims, and that's it. The political divisions between Shia and Sunni, this is political, have nothing to do with it. This is in general. But if somebody you have asking, he wants to follow a way, you say, the Shia of the time of Ali were Sunni people. They followed the Sunnah of Rasulullah, they followed Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman. Politically, they felt that Ali should be leader, and then you have people who fought Muawiyah as leader. It was a political difference. We have nothing to do with it. Nowadays, what we have with people who call themselves Shia, they were considered at the 2nd and 3rd century of Islam the extremists of Shia, Ulat al-Shia, al-Rafida, al-Imamiyya, where they thought that anybody other than Ali, his family, are kafir. So they considered Abu Bakr kafir, and Umar kafir, and Aisha kafir, and all the 100,000 Sahabi kafir, except these 10 or 15 people that stood with Ali. Which goes against the Quran, والسابقون الأولون من المهاجرين والأنصار والذين اتبعوهم بإحسان رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه إن الذين يبايعونك تحت الشجرة. All these that Allah has prayed, the thousands and hundreds of thousands of people praise, they say no. إذ يقول لصاحبه لا تحزن. He's talking to Abu Bakr that his sahib say no, he's kafir and so on. So you know that nowadays what they call themselves Shia, al-Rafida, al-Ithna Ashariya, the one who following al-Khomeini, that has nothing to do with the Shia. The Shia in Yemen, you have the Zaydi, they don't believe in that. They don't consider Abu Bakr or Umar. So they're Shia who believed that Ali should be ruling, and it is better to have a ruler from Ahlul Bayt. But they don't say if somebody else ruled, this is kufr and against the religion. And they would marry from Sunnah, and Sunnah would marry from them. So they're more still in the more like political who rules. So it depends who's asking and why they're asking.
The second question is regarding the Salah, right? So when sometimes like, as a imam when they're leaving, there's people that say like, hey, can you like wait for us after you read Fatiha because we want to read Quran, as there's a hadith saying like, you know,
نعم لا صلاة لمن لم يقرأ بأم الكتاب.
How do you combine that with like and some people would do it while the imam is reciting, but so do you listen to the Quran or you recite with the imam?
So this is khilaf ma'ruf. So this is old from long times. People have ijtihad, how they comprehend it. Yes, if you don't read Al-Fatiha al-Kitab, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, the salah is not counted. But we have the hadith, qira'atul imam, qira'a lil ma'mum. When the imam reads, the ma'mum, the recitation of the imam is enough for him. Some people say, well, I still want to read it. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam never kept silent enough for people to read Fatiha after him. So that's where you see some imam, they will wait enough for people to recite Fatiha. This is not the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The salah is still accepted, but this is not the way. When do it the proper way, the imam should read the Fatiha. After you say, Wal-Dhalin, Ameen, catches his breath, starts the surah. And the one after him should do the same. If the one behind imam cannot hear the Fatiha because it is, let's say, the last 2 rak'ah of Isha or Dhuhr or Asr, or it is Maghrib and Isha, but there is no audio system and he's far away, then he should recite. So someone should recite the Fatiha. Either you hear the imam, then his recitation is enough. You don't hear the imam, you do the recitation.
So, like, in terms of haram and halal food, like in the case that we're wrong and that like Allah wanted us to take this extra step, like that this what we're eating is considered haram food, is there a negative effect on us? Even though like we know it's not a sin because we're doing ijtihad, is there still a negative effect from eating that haram food?
No, there shouldn't, because we're doing our best to follow the truth, and we know we have proof from Quran, we have proof from the action of the Sahaba, and the majority of the ulama telling us so. So we're not doing it because it's easy. We're doing it because it is the proper way. We think this is what Allah wants to do. If Rasulullah was alive, that he would tell us to do so. But deep outside itself, if we hear Rasulullah tell us you shouldn't, we believe we would not do it. If we hear Rasulullah say, no, you should only eat from a Muslim, a good pious person who comes to the masjid. You hear him, you go and say, Bismillah, Allah, but that's the only person for him. I believe if I hear that there's a hadith, such a hadith, I will follow it. But since there isn't such a, and the majority of ulama told us the other way, we shouldn't make it hard on people. Well,
the reason this question comes up is because a friend of ours brought the evidences. One, when Abu Bakr learned that he ate meat that wasn't permissible for him, he spit it out. Also, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he said, a man comes to Allah and he calls upon him and his clothes are haram, his food is haram, his nourishment is haram, so how can his dua be accepted? Yes. So there is still effect on us, even if from the food and from what we take in, our nourishment,
Once we know it is forbidden, so that person, he knows his food is haram, his nourishment, his clothes, and then he's raising his hand, oh Allah, oh Allah. Allah will not respond to him because he knows. Because رَبَّنَا لَا تُؤَاخِذْنَا بِمَا نَسِينَا أَوْ أَخْطَأْنَا. That when we make mistakes or forget, we ask Allah to forgive us. And Rasulullah told us, رُفِعَ عَنْ أُمَّتِي النِّسْيَانُ وَالْخَطَأُ وَمَا اسْتُكْرِهَتْ عَلَيْهِ. My ummah and followers are not responsible for forgetting, for making mistakes, or for things they forced against their will. So we know we're not going to be responsible for actions that we did not intentionally intend. Now the action of Abu Bakr, once you realize you've done something wrong, then you will spit it out. Yes, you know. Let's say you're chewing something and somebody tell you there's pork in it. You spit it out. You're not going to be eating pork. And it happens sometimes. When you first came to this country and you're eating something and then all of a sudden tell you, oh, it's not pork, it's ham. It's the same thing. Oh, it's like
it's delicious.
Yeah.
So what makes meat impermissible is knowing that it's impermissible and still ingesting it.
It's intentionally. It's like a lot of times there could be pork products in food or medicine and so on that you cannot stay away from. So there's like heparin, and most blood thinners are taken from the guts of pork from China. And if that's the only medicine that works for the person, he has to do it. He's not ingesting as a food because it's a medicine, only thing applicable. There's a lot of medicines that are dissolved in alcohol, and that's the only form that's available. So this is because there's no other alternative. But when you have an alternative, then you should always choose only what is halal. And this brings me to the brother question was asking, like intoxicating medications. We know alcohol is forbidden to ingest or use as a medicine. And any intoxicant has the same ruling of alcohol. But when it comes to painkillers, surgeries cannot be performed without painkillers. You're going to be breaking somebody's bone and putting iron rods in it, putting screws and so on, without having proper doses of opiates in their system. You cannot do it. So it should be used as a painkiller, not as an intoxicant, and should be limited to the least amount that's needed. And even in this country, nowadays, most rules tell you shouldn't give somebody painkillers more than 3 days. They used to give people painkillers for months and months, they become addicted to it. And that's what probably started the pandemic. So, to the minimum that is required. But alcohol, never, because alcohol specifically, Rasulullah has said, it cannot be a medicine.
شيخ الناس دائما تتحدث عن الحلال والحرام ولما يحكون عن الأكل لكن يقصدون الذبيحة أو غير الذبيحة لكن الحلال والحرام في أكثر من كذا فالمال الحلال والحرام هذا أهم شيء يعني قبل ما تحكي على الذبيحة هل هذه ذبحت بشخص يعني مسلم وغير مسلم شوف عن مصدر فلوس
What the brother is saying is important. It's not about how the animal was slaughtered, how the money was earned. Some people, they don't care. You see them going to the bank, taking loans unnecessarily. Sometimes people are necessitated where they have no other way to take a loan. But some people just to expand their business. He's buying 2 and 3 cars a month. He's making 2,000-3,000. Now he wants to buy and sell 20 cars. And he will take a loan from a bank and wants to make 20,000-30,000. Well, he's not obligated to do it, $2,000-3,000. He can survive with it. He takes a loan, he makes more money, but this is now haram money. Why should you do that? So when somebody's obligated to do something, الضرورات تبيح المحظورات, this obligation should be kept to the minimum, not just because it's convenient and it's easier for me. So that's important. You see a lot of people focus on how the animal is slaughtered, but they never focus about their money, where it's going, how it's coming, or focusing on their salah, or how the kids are doing, whether their women are properly wearing hijab or not, their kids are praying or they're not praying, they don't know properly about the aqidah, what is faith, how you go to Jannah, who's going to be forgiven and not. They don't care about that and they just focus on the meat, they want a Muslim. So yeah, if you have a Muslim slaughtered, that's fine, inshallah you'll be rewarded for it. But there's other things also you need to work on. Yes.
So if nobody has any other question, I could tell you the...
Yeah.
Okay. You wanna go?
We'll take one from you and then we'll take another.
صلاة الجنازة على واحد شيعي على شخص شيعي هل يجوز prayer on like funeral prayer on a person that might be Shia you didn't know, like does that affect you or is it permissible?
So it depends. Shia are not kafir in general. As I said, they're not the same. So if you hear somebody cursing the Sahaba and saying something is kufr, then you wouldn't. But the majority are just loving Ali radiallahu anhu, al-Hasan al-Hussein and so on. That doesn't make him kafir. So if it happens that and such person you prayed on him, there's nothing wrong with it. And if you're not sure and you happen to pray on him, then this is by mistake you've done. You're not going to be affected by it. But if you know somebody that kept their rituals, and anytime there's something bad, they say, Ya Ali, Ya Hussein, Ya Fatima, and so on, asking other than the name of Allah. Such a person, you don't pray on them. The same thing would happen for somebody who called himself from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. If he's calling on dead people, he says on Gilani and Qadiri and so on, or help me and so on, يستغيث بغير الله, then you wouldn't pray on such a person.
So if you don't know the like.
If you don't know, you don't know. You take the general rule. Is a Muslim? Somebody tell you, oh, there's a Muslim, there's a janazah. You go and pray on him. That's all what you need to know. You don't have to every time dig on that person. In general, you try to take the precaution. You're doing the right thing rather than not doing anything.
Sometimes say like you pray the janazah and then you go to the maqbara and then you see like there's a Shia imam or something. And
Yeah. Then you leave.
you leave.
Yeah. I mean, your intention is to please Allah. Once you see things happening against, even when you go to a Sunni janazah and you see them, they're doing rituals that are all full of bid'ah, you leave. You don't have to do that. So always you try to please Allah. It's about your connection to you and Allah. Once you see something beyond your ability to correct, you leave it.
The reason I ask is because, you know, isn't the full reward is when you stay throughout the whole thing?
Yeah, as long as there's nothing prohibitive happening. You see sometimes you see the women all of a sudden starting going around, they're not properly clothed, or they have some kind of music, or they start reciting poetry that's improper and stuff like this. You see, I don't know, a president, a king, and they started saluting him with gunfire and cannons and so on. It's like, okay, that's not my place. You go.
So I guess you answered the question of the brother who's asking about the.
See, this is the question. Brother, I don't know. Yes, inshallah, he's coming. Yes.
He was asking if general medications are allowed or not, because a lot of medications might have substance like you mentioned, like pork or alcohol or things like marijuana. So he was asking, where do we draw the line on taking these medications, especially that it keeps changing, things like now like medical marijuana or this drug.
So in general, seeking treatment for illness is part of sunnah. Tadawu ibadallah. So Rasul ordered us to seek treatment. Every illness has a treatment. We might know it, might not know it. But we don't go to things that are haram. There isn't any condition that marijuana treats that doesn't have an equivalent treatment for it from other medications that are not intoxicant. So the only exception, as we said, with painkillers, where the majority of them are opiates, they can induce intoxication, so they should be limited to the minimum amount required for that specific indication. And if somebody can use none or other forms, they use Tylenol instead of taking morphine or oxycodone or whatever they're going to take, it's better. But anything that's illegal, there's a reason it's illegal. Here, by the law of the land, when something doesn't have a medical application, they classify it as a class 1 controlled substance. That means it's prohibited. Like heroin and cocaine, there's no clinical application for it. But you have other milder, even morphine is considered class 2, where it can be prescribed for somebody say having a heart attack or breaking their leg or something like this for that specific period without inducing the intoxication.
Go ahead.
No, sorry, I thought you were done. Keep going.
No, that's a different question.
Oh, different. Okay. So the same thing with the food. Sorry to keep repeating it, but just for clarification. So like, why didn't Abu Bakr say, like, because what I heard is that he ate the food and it was in his stomach, but like when then the person told him it's actually haram food. So why didn't he think, I ate it thinking it was halal, but instead he like tried to throw it out?
Yeah. So this is an extra step from him. So this is what we call wara'. Wara' is to do beyond what you're required to do. So once it's already done, he's not required to vomit. But he, out of himself, being the perfect movement after the messengers, he didn't want even any doubt about it. Yeah. It happened for me once. I was eating in an Italian restaurant, got some pasta and so on, made sure no alcohol, no pork. At the end, they see something pink. What is that? And they told me it was ham or something like that. So I stopped. I didn't vomit the rest of it. I don't have the iman of Abu Bakr. I don't know if I ate from, but I mean the soup still have some effect of it. And I made sure we never go to that restaurant again. So so that the wara' of the certain Sahaba is beyond what is required. Allah.
Sheikh, where's the line where wala' istihsan is not following the sunnah? Like there's like some people they say, oh, I'm doing this standard, I'm trying to be better. Whereas the sunnah is you can't be better than the sunnah.
Yeah. So sunnah are levels, but when you do the wara', you do it for yourself. You don't compel or order others to do it. So when somebody, let's say, invited to a big gathering, and you know that person, he rarely comes to the masjid and so on. So out of wara', you don't attend his wedding, but somebody else attend the wedding. They can attend it, unless there's something haram in the wedding. So you might do wara', like the rulers, the khulafa and king and sultans and so on. Some of the ulama would go and attend their gatherings and so on, and some say, no, I would never attend it. You have some of the Sahaba, they will get the money from Muawiyah and so on. When they get to them, they will accept it and then spread it in charity, and some would not take it. So each one look at it in a different way of doing it, but you don't compel others. So the wara' part, you know that you're doing it beyond what is required, but it doesn't go against the sunnah. So there's a difference. Istihsan, when you're making a new way in the religion that has nothing to do with it, and now you make a way, encouraging others to do it. So man istahsana faqad sharra. So when you say this is something mustahsan, it's better to do, and there's no sunnah about it, that makes it bid'ah. But you yourself, let's say you decided every Tuesday you're going to be fasting because it's your day off. This is for you, but you cannot tell people, oh, we should be fasting every Tuesday. Why should we be fasting every Tuesday? It's not part of the sunnah. Sunnah, Monday and Thursday. But for you, it's convenient to do it on Tuesday. You fast Tuesday. That's up to you. But you don't make istihsan for other people to do it. Allah.
شيخ تخريج زكاة الفطر مالا هل هي من باب الاستحسان أم البدعة؟
تصل إلى مستحقها طعاما فقط حصرا. So talking about the zakah of al-fitr, sadaqat al-fitr, it has to reach the poor person as food. You can send it as money to the people who are buying food, but at the end, it should reach the people as food. And people who don't need that food, they don't need it. Find somebody else. Because some people tell you, oh, we don't need food. We need clothes, we need tents, we need a car, we need whatever it is. Well, find somebody else. There are other people who need it. There's other means of sadaqah and zakah you can give to these people if they're short of that. But sadaqat al-fitr is a specific way. It's like udhiyah. Can you make udhiyah with turkey or, I don't know, with different types of animals, raccoons or whatever, alligators and so on? No. So udhiyah is mentioned, you have camels, you have cows, you have sheep, and you have goats. So these are the ones you can make udhiyah with.
Hey brother, for the zakat al-fitr, we give it like money in a box in the mosque.
Yes.
But we don't really give it like.
Yeah, but the money, they know this is the zakat. They send it to a charity that only give it as food. So when the charity receive it, they tell them this is general zakat. They can do whatever general hospitals and build buildings. Well, this is fitr. Fitr is only food. Give it food. So they should know. So that's why they have a separate box for it from the general donations. And the same thing with the zakat. When you donate it to the masjid, if you donate it to the masjid, you can donate whatever you want. You can buy new carpet, AC, and so on. If you're giving zakah, let's go to the needy, the poor, and so on. They have certain categories. So there's a difference between zakatul mal, zakatul fitr, and sadaqah. So each one has different ways of doing it. Allah.
شيخ أنا من هذا المنبر أبرئ ذمتي. إحنا المال الذي نأخذه من الناس يعطى كمال، وأنا يعني من الناس يعني يحثون الناس على أن يأخذون يشترون هم بضائع من أي مكان، من وول مارت أو سامسونج أي مكان، يروحون على أسر يعني محتاجة ويعطوهم هذا القدر باكس أو كذا بنفسه. يعني كل واحد منا سوى هذا. هو الواحد بيخرج $100 $200 بالكثير. $200 بتجيب لك باكسة، يا دوب باكسة ما تمليهاش. اشتريها من سامز ولا من كوسكو وروح على أسر كثيرة معروفة. مش ضروري يكون واحد معدم يعني اعطيها له يعني، وهذه الاقرب للسنه.
نعم. إذا ما كان يجد المسجد من يعطيه طعام مستحق في المحل الذي فيها، يخرجها مكان آخر. يعني ممكن تتكلم جمعية خيرية ترسل إلى السودان، ترسل إلى أثيوبيا، إلى اليمن، إلى غزة، إلى غير ذلك، أن يخرجوها طعام. يتحرى الإنسان أن يتحرى يخرجها طعام. So we're talking about that sometimes in this country it's hard to have people finding food and give people food, end up giving them money. But it's better in this case than finding charities that give food. There's a lot of needy Muslims who need the food. So there's a lot of people that would appreciate that $15, it might give their family, whole family food for a week or a month. So give it there. If your family having a hard time finding it here. Allah, this is the best way, so we keep it the reward going.
شيخ هل وصولها للمحتاج قبل صلاة العيد ولا مش مشكلة بعد صلاة العيد؟
الأصل فيها قبل صلاة العيد. إذا لطارئ حصل تأخر وغير ذلك لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها، لكن يكون يتحرى الإنسان أن تصل إلى مستحقها قبل صلاة العيد. So we're asking, how about the money doesn't have to reach the poor and needy person before Salat al-Eid? Say this is what you should aim for. For some reason got delayed, there was the circumstances, they couldn't be reaching, well, I mean, you tried your best. But your intention is for it to reach the person before Salat al-Eid.
Sure. I had the person come to me. He's like, there's a second Salat al-Eid, I came for that one. Can he give his zakat al-fitr at that moment?
Some are doing it this way. Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. It's better not to put yourself in that circumstance just before the Imam gives the second Salah and you put it and so on. It's still better than nothing, but I think to be on the safe side, give it ahead of time. The Sahaba, a lot of them, we give it for the Amil, the one who collects it, for a day or two before, so it will reach the needy person before Salat al-Eid.
If you had like unintentionally had money in like a savings account or something and it earned interest, how can you like get rid of that money?
So the interest that you earn is not yours. You don't keep it for the bank, you give it for a general charity. It doesn't go to a masjid and it does not go to a specific person, because you shouldn't feed anybody the mal that's not haram. So you give it to general charity, so a charity that's building roads or helping a larger group of people. So, but you don't go to one specific person, so oh, this, I earned $1,000 from the bank, I'm going to give it to you as a needy person. Don't do that. Give them regular zakat. But you can give it to a charity that's helping digging wells in Africa or building schools in Asia or something of that sort. You do it, but not for a masjid, not for a specific person. This is what I hear the ulama saying. I remember Sheikh al-Albani was once asked about it. He said, a person sold the land in France. By law, they hold the money, I don't know for why, they said for 3 years until they make sure there's no litigation against the title, but they keep it in the bank. So after 3 years, they freed the money for him, they gave it him with interest. It was a lot of money. So what should I leave it in the bank? He said, no, they're going to use it for riba. It's not yours. You don't give it to a specific person, you don't give it to masjid. Find a general charity, you give it to them. So this is, we go with. So, inshallah. You have another question?
Yeah, I have two more.
Yeah.
So one brother is asking, in sujood when you're making dua, he's also a new Muslim. He's asking, can you make dua in English or in native language, or does it have to be in Arabic?
Arabic is better, but if not, whatever communicates you and Allah. It's like this youngster, times of Mu'adh, when he was reciting Quran Surah, he left him and went. So Rasulullah asked him, why do you do that? He said, he prays long, I don't understand what he's mumbling about or you mumbling about. That means his Arabic understanding is minimum. So what do? You say, I read Fatiha, then ask Allah to grant me Jannah and save me from hellfire. Say, this is what we mumble about. So that means if you don't know the specific words, use whatever gets you closer to Allah, but you aim to learn. So for temporary, you do that. But later on, you should know Jannah is for heaven, Jahannam is for hellfire, and the As'aluk Allah, I ask you, and so on. You learn a few words, and that will be enough.
I think the question is it like is in sujood, right, the dua, or is it just regular dua? Is it in sujood?
So after saying Subhana Rabbi al-A'la, so he need to know the dhikr. So dhikr and du'as is different.
Yeah.
Dhikr is specific. موقوف. Dua is more general. So dua you have more leeway of doing it. But even the dhikr, until you know the wording, let's say for the first few days he wants to pray, tell him you glorifying Allah, the Almighty, Allah the greatest, and so on, until he knows Subhan Rabbi al-A'la, Subhan Rabbi al-Azim.
Yeah, I'll make sure he gets that clarification. One final question. So a sister was asking, so we were telling her about Zakatul Mal, and so she was asking, she was saying, I'm a stay-at-home wife, so I'm not working. So all of my money, including my mahar and all of my savings, everything is just sitting in my bank doing nothing for years. So she's like, do I have to give Zakatul Mal by myself on all that amount that I'm saving, my mahar, my savings, and all my money? Or would my husband have just give the Zakatul Mal on my behalf and that's it? Or does he have to give it, like give my zakat, but like he's gonna give it, like not her?
The zakat has to come out once it reaches a certain minimum. So when she reached that amount minimum, it's about like 80 grams of gold, whatever that's equivalent to it. And it stays over a year, zakat has to be paid. She can pay it, her husband, her father, her brother, whoever wants to pay it, zakat has to come. And she's late on it, she needs to count it. If it's been 3, 4, 5 years, that doesn't drop. So she still has to do it. Allah. And for the jewelry, only for the gold and silver part. So if she has a diamond in it, rubies, whatever it is, then she needs only to weigh the gold and silver part of it, and the other types of jewelry, there's no zakat on it. Unless she's a merchant, so she keeps diamond and buy diamonds. Oh,
شيخ هل البهائيين مسلمين أم غير مسلمين؟
Bahaiyin is different religion. That's nothing to do with this. Bahai, Qadiyaniyya, they're total different religion.
I have one question. So during Tarawih, like a lot of the times I wasn't like really comprehending like the prayer, and I know that a lot of the brothers were reading the Quran like while the Imam was reciting.
In Tarawih.
Yeah, in Tarawih.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to like have the translation out and like read along for like better khushu', or is that allowed or no?
So to be on the safe side, you listen to the Quran, you don't do anything. You don't hold the book, you don't read the phone. This is the proper way of doing it. There has been reports that Aisha and Anas ibn Malik, they will have somebody carrying the book for them and they will be praying behind them. And that's where some ulama say it is permissible in Qiyam al-Layl to do that. Only in Qiyam al-Layl, not in Fard. If it is hard for you to follow the Imam, you don't have to stay in Taraweeh if you're not able to comprehend it. You can pray your own Taraweeh at home with the surah that you know, and you make your dua long during your sujood, during your ruku'. You glorify Allah a lot and read it a lot. Can you read from the Quran in this case? You probably can, depending on that, but not as a jama'ah, as so on. The proper way Sahaba did, they never hold books in jama'ah. It happens individually in their own homes for 2 Sahabi. The rest of them never done it. So that's, there's a ijtihad in it, where some people reading. And in your case, if you're following, you're trying to follow the Arabic and English, maybe. I haven't heard any alim saying anything about it, but if those who allowed it to be read in Arabic, they probably would not mind have it in English for the khushu'. But I would say in this case, if you really 99% what they're saying you don't comprehend it, it's better for you to pray on your own and read things that you know, rather than staying an hour or two and not following, not concentrating. You don't have the khushu'. Oh, no, I think that would be better.
Does someone praying Tarawih at home get the same ajr as someone in the masjid? Because the hadith that says whoever stays with the Imam until he finishes, he gets the reward for praying home like this.
It's going to be about your khushu'. So somebody in Tarawih having full khushu' in his salah, yes, he's going to get the reward of full night. But if somebody is staying there and not having khushu', not following with the Imam, and praying at home, he have more khushu', he'll get more reward. So it's about the khushu' and the reward, the concentration. Not all the Sahaba, even after Umar, he gathered the Sahaba on one Imam. He himself didn't pray with that Imam every night. A lot of Sahaba didn't do it, they would pray at home. So, but it helps people who don't have enough Quran for them to make their own Qiyam al-Layl and Taraweeh. It is encouraged. But if you have enough and you can do it at home, yes. But some people, when they go home, they don't pray Qiyam al-Layl. That's a way to encourage them. So I know I've heard a lot of ulama saying, wherever you find your heart having more khushu', that's what you do. You have enough Quran with you to pray at home with khushu', you do it. You don't have enough, or you have more khushu' with the jama'ah, then you do it with the jama'ah.
I have two questions. The first, how do you know if you have khushu' or not?
You can tell. Your heart is there. You feel your eyes, your heart trembling. You concentrate. This is khushu'. Not you're thinking about your car, about the rent, about the school, about fighting, and about the AC and the birds and the cats and so on. So your mind going right. And this is not khushu'. Khushu', you're really with it. When you say Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, Allah is greater than everything. Subhana Rabbi al-A'la is higher than everything. We ask Allah for forgiveness, for mercy. You really need it. You feel, when you're feeling every word, you're understanding, comprehending every word. This is the khushu'. Your heart is really trembling. You know you're going to be day of judgment. وَيَوْمَ يُكْشَفُ عَنْ سَاقٍ وَيَدْعَوْنَ إِلَى السُّجُودِ فَلَا يَسْتَطِيعُونَ. There will be day when people have seen everything and Allah ordered them to make sujood, they will not be able to do it because they haven't prayed in this life. So you want this sajda to count, so on that day it will count. So when you have that mindset, this is khushu'. But if you prayed, you don't know, did I pray Fatiha or not? Which surah that I read? Did I say Subhana Rabbi al-A'la? Did I forget that? This is not khushu'. Shaitan come to us, you need to bring yourself back. Just every time when you go away, just think about what you say. That'll bring you back to khushu'.
So, I'm sorry, I have two questions. The second one is, do we pay the zakat al-mal on the income tax or the savings?
It's savings, not income. So there are different kinds. Most of us, it's about money. There are some people who have farms, they have certain rules. Some people have cattle and animals, have different rules. The majority of us, we're talking about money. Money being cash, gold, or silver, or equivalent to it. It has to reach a certain minimum, equivalent to gold, about 80 grams, that stayed a whole year the same or more. So when it's due time, more than 12 lunar months passed, then you pay the zakah for it, 2.5% of that money. Most of us get salaries, so that money doesn't stay same. You can keep track of it every month. This month I have $3,000, next month $4,000. So when next year come up, I'll be paying zakah on these $3,000. That the month after I have extra $1,000, I'm going to pay on this one. This month it's hard for us. So most of us, what we do at the end of the year, since last time we paid our zakah, we count how much money we got. We pay zakah. So we're going to be paying for things that a year passed, and some of them not yet. So we're paying ahead of time. It's encouraged to pay ahead of time rather than losing it. And that's what we do. So every year, let's say, most people, since they don't know the lunar months, it's lunar, it's not Gregorian, so it's not April 15 when you pay your zakah. This is income tax. So you pay, because there's like 11 days difference between lunar and the calendar. So most people will do it in Ramadan because they remember Ramadan, that's a lunar month. So Ramadan comes. This year, you know, you had 3,000 in your account. I don't know, maybe that's what 80 grams of gold is worth nowadays. Okay, you have reached. Next year, you see you have 5,000. Okay, I'm going to pay zakah 5,000. So you paid on the 3,000 a year passed. Maybe some of them need another 6 years to have a full term, but you paid ahead of time. That's better.
Sure. Question on Salat al-Masbuq. Do some people, is there ikhtilaf between madahib on like whether they allow it or no?
No. So you're talking about praying in Jama'ah and Masjid, or you following the Imam and he's already prayed ahead of you?
Yeah, like a ma'moom, basically, after he followed the Imam anywhere, whether Masjid or anywhere else.
Oh, so you came to the Masjid, they finished the Jama'ah, and somebody who's late still have one more ruk'ah. He was late himself, he prayed 3 ruk'ah with the Imam, and the 4th ruk'ah, He's praying himself. Now you come and you want to pray with him as jama'ah. Yeah, that's the one where there is ijtihad. Some people say yes, you pray with him as a jama'ah, but there's no hadith in that part. The hadith that's mentioned, when Abu Bakr came after the jama'ah was finished, he was praying on his own. Rasulullah said, who would donate charity to him and go pray with him? So one of the people already prayed jama'ah, prayed with him as a jama'ah, so he will get the reward of jama'ah. So this is the picture that's perfectly fits the sunnah. Other than that, it's ijtihad. So some would allow it, some would not allow it.
Sheikh, in that case, was it Abu Bakr the Imam and the Sahabi was?
Yes, Ma'moom, yes.
Okay.
So the one who's late was leading, and the one who gave charity to him, the one who already prayed jama'ah, so he had extra reward from the jama'ah, and he's sharing it with him.
So he would pray if it's Isha, for example, he would pray all 4 rak'ahs.
Yeah, he will pray 4 rak'ah. Then for the one who's doing the charity, it's sunnah.
Yeah.
For the imam, it is fard.
We see the opposite. The brothers, they do it. And we all do it the opposite.
Yeah. So it's better, I would say, to be on the safe side, if the imam is done, everybody pray alone. So just pray alone, don't get into argument and so on, your salah will be accepted.
Because a lot of times I see like when somebody comes prays behind the one that's late, he's also late, then another one forms.
Yeah, that it keep happening, especially in bigger places and so on. I say if you miss the jama'ah, just pray alone and keep the khushu' and concentration, and that's what counts. Keep the connection between you and Allah. A lot of people focus on these, which one? Just it's about you and Allah.
So what if you came in, for example, with a group of guys?
Yeah.
Together you were late.
Yeah.
Can you pray a jama'ah then?
If the masjid has a known time with a known imam, with a known so on, you shouldn't be praying a second jama'ah. Either you pray outside the masjid in a different area, or you pray alone at home or something, but in the masjid, only one jama'ah should be allowed.
I had a question about zakat mal. Do you pay zakat mal on debt? For example, say you owe money or someone owes you money.
So this is what ulama has differentiated between money that you can get and money you cannot get. If I loan a person who's rich $10,000, and I know anytime I ask him, he'll pay me back, but I don't need it now. It's as if I own it, so I pay zakah for it. I loaned money to somebody, I don't know he's gonna ever pay me back. I don't pay zakah on it until I get it back. So it might be a year or 2 or 10 or 15. Once I know I'm getting back, that's when I pay on it. If you borrowed money, it's not your money. You don't own it. How are you gonna pay zakah on it? I borrowed 10,000 from somebody. I'm keeping it to invest it in business. It's not my money. I have to pay it back. So there's no zakah on it. When is Derby? Because I don't think I'll come on a Derby day, because today was difficult to drive.
May 5th, first week of May.
So it's not next week, the week after. Yeah, so inshallah on that day I will not come. Today I has hard time. The highway was closed. I have to go.
With Derby is going to be even worse. Sheikh, you mentioned several times 80 grams of gold.
Yeah.
I just checked it. It's like $77 for a gram, which is about like $6,000.
6,000 nowadays. Yeah, I remember years ago when the ounce of gold was like 1,200 something. It was $3,000 or something. So probably now it's like $3,000 an ounce. So that's about 6,000. So that's always equivalent, either gold or silver.